In 1990, a newly opened police operation was created in the UK called Operation Childcare, where its main purpose was to go after people who disguised themselves as social workers who would kidnap unsuspecting parents' children. This investigation ended in 1994 after thousands of pounds and hundreds of police hours had been wasted. In the end, only 2 reports out of the 250 seemed to be proven genuine, whilst 18 others were given deeper investigations. However, reports of these social workers still appear all over the world. This is the story of the phantom social workers. One of the first mainstream reports of the phantom social workers appeared from a woman by the name of Elizabeth Cooperland. She reported to the police that 2 women knocked on her front door, which was located in Sheffield, England. These 2 women claimed to be working for the NSPCC, which is also known as the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Elizabeth believed that these people indeed worked for the NSPCC, so she let them inside and they examined her 2 children. Days went by without a follow-up report, until there was a knock on Elizabeth's door. One of the women from before was there, with an unknown male assailant standing next to her. They told Elizabeth that her children needed to be taken away and put into foster care. Elizabeth resisted, saying that she would call the police if they tried to take her children away. When these 2 supposed workers heard this, they left her property immediately. Elizabeth later called the NSPCC. They responded saying that they never sent anyone to her house on those 2 days. However, the police later investigated this case, and they were unable to find any proof of any phantom social workers in the local area, and concluded the case by saying there wasn't enough sufficient evidence to carry on working on this case. However, this was the case which directly launched Operation Childcare, which existed to look out for situations exactly like this. Several hundred reports were given to the police between the years 1990 to 1995, when eventually this operation was closed. Some of the more notable cases include that of Wiley, Lynn Stewart, and Mark Dunn, who have extremely similar stories apart from some factors which separate them. In Anne's story, she reports that a phantom social worker arrived at her back door, a young woman who looked like she was in her 20s, who had light brown hair with a small mark next to her right eye. She told Anne that she had come to her house to check on her son's medical records. Anne then asked if she had any identification with her, and she replied that she left it in the car, which Anne immediately saw as suspicious. Anne then looked into the car that the woman had directed to, and saw a man smoking inside the car, which Anne thought was also incredibly suspicious, because these people were meant to be health visitors looking into children's welfare, and it wouldn't make any sense putting the child in the form of any danger by smoking near them. Apparently, the mysterious woman then got out a file which seemed to contain all the child's medical history, but when Anne questioned if the woman knew her child's name, she didn't know how to respond. This woman somehow got to speak with Anne's son before it started to rain, to which Anne said that they should go into the living room to continue their conversation before her son got cold. However, when Anne went inside with her son, the woman left immediately in the car with the man. The story of Lynn Stewart begins with a woman who managed to convince Lynn that she was a social worker trying to look after her son, so Lynn let her into her house. However, she soon attempted to kidnap Lynn's 4-month-old child, and apparently Lynn had to fight this woman off, punching her several times in order to get her baby back. However, when the police looked into this, they could find no evidence at all that this event happened, and it was widely believed by the general public that Lynn fabricated her story so she could get more attention from her local neighborhood. The police even considered filing a lawsuit against Lynn because of the lack of evidence that this case had. However, there was never a lawsuit filed towards Lynn. Finally, the story of Mark Dunn reported to the police that he was home alone without his wife and kid, like any other Tuesday, until there was a knock on his door. He opened the door to see what he described as a well-groomed and official-looking woman inquiring into his children because she claimed that she had been investigating claims of mistreatment in the household. Mark then asked to see if he could see her identification, to which she said that she was going back to her car to get it. However, when she went back to her car, she sped off as fast as possible with two other men already inside her car. These stories eventually became casual urban legends being talked about in neighbourhoods all over the UK and even in the United States in the 1990s. However, there have been several reports of this crime throughout the 2000s and the 2010s. One of the most violent attacks reported by witnesses in 2010 reports that one of these phantom social workers tried to forcefully open up a door after they had been refused entry into their house, to which the homeowner made sure to shut them out before they could get any further into the homeowner's property. The most recent appearance from one of these phantom social workers has appeared in the form of fake vaccinators, who have appeared around the world in 2021, and it's reported that these phantoms seem to just inject the victim with a clear liquid, which was reported to be only a harmless fluid, and charge the victim an absurd amount of money, which they claim will be reimbursed by their health system, which of course, the victims never are fully paid back. You might ask, how and why did these stories get so widespread around the world, especially in the UK to begin with? Well, these stories seem to stem from people's distrust in social workers, which has always existed due to people not believing that they might be incapable of properly caring for their children, but the parent might not be able to see this because the parents might believe that they are in the right, looking after their child in the way which they seem suitable. However, there might be an origin to this distrust of social workers, and even a clear origin to that of the phantom social worker phenomenon. In the 1980s, two doctors named Marietta Higgs and Geoffrey Wyatt developed what they thought was a revolutionary technique in detecting whether a child had been abused or not in places where social workers had not been comfortable going before. Their practice was called RAD, which was a disturbing practice in which the child is put through a very troublesome procedure, which often led to trauma later on in life. However, Higgs believed that this practice could determine whether a child had been sexually abused or not. However, it ended up causing more harm than good, as 121 children had been removed from their homes with only the evidence of their abuse being this technique, and later 94 of these children were returned to their homes after social workers found out that this test had been ineffective in finding signs of abuse and found out it caused more harm instead. As a result of this controversy, it flooded the tabloid papers, and I feel that this is one of the main reasons people started to distrust social workers in the 1980s, and this eventually led to the phenomenon of the phantom social workers. I do believe that there might have been one or two cases of these phantom social workers existing. However, I feel for the most part it was just an overly exaggerated rumour going around different neighbourhoods whenever they saw a religious missionary or a charity collection run. That being said, it's always best to check who someone is before you let them into your house, because you can never really know who someone is, no matter who they say they are. This has been Bernard Anderson, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Good night.